Da 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 da. What's my good cheer? Welcome, welcome, everybody. Let's give YouTube a couple of minutes to get those notifications out. Let people know I've gone live. In the meantime, that gives me a couple of extra minutes too to get myself sorted. Oh my goodness, that was a run in the past, I don't know, the past hour. In that little bit of reselling that I do, in that trying to keep the roof over my head, I got into a conversation with a beautiful lady. Like, she was absolutely beautiful. And I left that conversation feeling like I really did provide service. But at the same time, did I provide service for that beautiful lady? That lady, right? She did something for me in that reciprocal, right? In that return of it was just banter, but it just so smoothly went into some, I think, deep, personal, beautiful, private, right? Conversations that you don't normally have with strangers, with people that you don't meet. And I don't know if you guys have ever, left a conversation or an experience with somebody else really feeling like you made a connection. And it's an amazing feeling. If you've never had that feeling before, search it out, right? It's only a matter of being the first person sometimes to start a conversation, to actually pay attention and take an interest in somebody else. And you have no idea what kind of gift you're giving to somebody. And in my own circumstances, I would have to say, you don't know what that situation is going to give to you. And I'm saying that even though in that hour, I destroyed my glasses. I don't want to touch them, or the lenses are going to pop out. I broke my glasses. Oh my goodness. Glasses are not something that I want to be breaking consistently. It seems like every single year. It's an expensive process for me, but it is what it is. I don't cry over spilt milk. My glasses are broken. I'll go to the store and get some crazy glue, see if we can put them together, back together in the moment, just to tie me over. I was intending to get another pair of glasses, but I am checking things off my goal list, and I did not have glasses on my goal list. So those eyeglasses, they're going on the goal list just because I'm going to have to buy them anyway, and it'll make me feel good when I take that highlighter and I highlight that goal, that thing that I needed to accomplish for myself. I do that. I have it written twice. I have one for the fridge, that every time I walk into the fridge for a treat, or I think I need to go to the grocery store and buy something for the fridge, that I look at that goal list and I ask myself, is that really necessary? I keep one at my desk too. It's here somewhere, probably in my basket here. I keep one at the desk too because I'm consistently looking at it, and that's my inspiration. That's my motivation, you know, to make sure that, when I go off and I don't want to have a crappy life. I get one life. I get one shot at this life, and I want to enjoy it. I want to immerse myself in it. But at the same time, I want to make some movement, and I want to make that movement not just for myself, but for my family and for those beautiful strangers that I have no idea how I get myself in these conversations, but I am so grateful because, it is truly for an empath, for a highly sensitive, it is what other people think of you. That's our feed. That's our glory. That's what makes us shine. That's what makes us smile on ourselves. And if you're anything like me, you probably don't shine on yourself as much as you should have. It is something that I am practicing, right? And I don't feel that I treat myself badly, right? At least I'd like to think that I don't treat myself badly. But I don't think I go out of my way to make myself feel like, right? And it's a main ingredient. I am a main ingredient. I am the main actor in my own story. And yet, quite often, right, we don't give ourselves that consideration, right? We don't give ourselves that walk of fame. Maybe we'll give ourselves the walk of shame, but we wouldn't give ourselves the walk of fame, right? We wouldn't give ourselves that day at the salon and get our nails done and our hair done, right? We don't fix ourselves our meals before we take care of anybody else. We're always taking care of others before we take care of ourselves. And when we do, right, decide that it's all about me, I'm taking care of me first, right? Then what happens is that feeling guilty, right? Feeling shame for taking our piece of the pie. And that's a toughie for me because I am instinctually and I am specifically doing that for myself. And I'm paying attention when I do the opposite. But at the same time, I still haven't gotten the hang of brushing off those feelings of feeling bad when I take my little piece. And none of us should ever feel bad in taking our piece. We're supposed to take as much as we can take in, digest, roll in it, revel in it, right? What did I tell you? Oh my goodness. What did I do? Oh, Christmas time, and I've got to buy a new pair of glasses. But I'm smiling at that. We'll get through the live tonight. Tomorrow I'll go to the store, like I said, and get some crazy glue. And we'll get it all sorted out. Enough just to tie me over, right? Just a couple of months and we'll get the glasses. We'll make it a priority because in my life I do prioritize. But up until today, the glasses were not a priority. I knew they were something I was going to have to attend to at some point. But that's the idea. We never know what's going to roll into our life. We don't know what that wrench is that's going to get thrown into the engine, whether it's going to cost us our heart, whether it's going to cost us our livelihood or the roof over our heads, right? We don't know what that expense is. We don't know what it's going to take from us, but we have to be willing, right, to make sure. Cindy needs her glasses. That's going on the priority list before we, oh, I dare say, get the new desktop. Oh my goodness. There were a few things on my list that were costly, but we prioritize in what we need, right? And just trust that the rest of it will work out. And I find that to be true for myself. And so I'm not going to worry, right, about the glasses. It's spilt milk. Now, if you can do something about it, you do something about it. But if you can't do anything about it, you got to let it go. In this moment, I'm not running off to the store to get some crazy glue. I usually keep it in a drawer, but I threw it all out when I was doing my spring cleaning because I felt it had dried out too much. But we'll go to the store tomorrow. We'll get that crazy glue. We'll fix my frames, and it will be enough to tie me over. It will still be on the priority list, but in the moment, it won't be something that we're going to beat myself up about. Now we're going to stop playing with the glasses so we can just keep them on my face for the rest of our conversation, you guys. It's only Thursday. This week seems like it's just going by very, very slowly. I stayed up for a good part of the night last night just watching the crazy storm. If you don't know, I live in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, and we had a doozy blizzard. They called it the Alberta Clipper. It's rolling into Ontario and going to go into Quebec in the next day or so, and they're going to have a rough time of it too because those mountains are like tunnels. So I'm curious to see how they're going to be affected by this storm. For us, it wasn't so much a ton of snow. There was a ton of snow, but that wind chill, it was cold last night. It was way past the minus 40s with the wind chill last night. It was so cold, and the drifts are crazy high. Like on my side of the street, it looks like they plowed the sidewalks even. But you cross the other side of the street and you've got 3 foot high drifts. And everybody's walking on down to catch a bus on that side of the road. I'm saying, like, why don't you just cross to this side of the road? And then you won't hurt yourself. You won't trip over a pile of snow, traipse through it. It's a lot of energy to traipse. I know. I just ran home to be on time for my live show. So I just plowed through those snow drifts, just going home as fast as I could. And I was actually going to sit here with my snow pants on and do my live show because I didn't think I had enough time. And then I thought, well, I don't even have a cup of coffee for my live show. So if my live show is going to be 5 minutes late tonight, let's get the snow pants off. Let's see if these glasses will work for me in the meantime to get me through my live show. And yeah, I have another pair of glasses. They're not great, but they might do the trick just so I don't drop my lens on the floor and actually have the lens break. Then it's not just a priority in getting the glasses. It's a priority getting the glasses today. And we're just not in the position to get those glasses today. So yeah, we'll get this sorted out tomorrow. These things happen. They're only glasses, you guys. I have people that are in my life in this moment and not necessarily they even have to be in my life, but the fact that we rub up against each other. We meet each other in the hallways. They're a member of my family or they're a friend of the family. That these issues can be so much bigger than just a pair of glasses when somebody's dealing with ill health or grief. So I've got to be grateful for where I'm sitting here right now. I have a roof over my head. I have a comfy chair. I'm home now. I have my live show that I'm sitting amongst. I have a cup of coffee. There's lots to be grateful for. And lots of times I was talking about this last week that we don't appreciate, we don't even recognize or notice all the amazing things that come into our lives because they're just so easy to attain, especially, in a materialistic kind of world that we live in, that things are just seem so instant. You can have your dinners delivered to your door now. You can order your groceries on the phone and or on the internet and just have it delivered to you. My sister's at home. My sister's home from the hospital, but she's got a virtual doctor from the hospital that she has to interact with every day at home. Now, this is new in innovation and technology. Mind you, last year I was watching some videos of some of these robots that go from room to room in a hospital, and it's actually a screen with a doctor on it checking on their patients. But this is something that we're going to have to get used to, right? This is movement too. This is how fast the world moves. It makes me curious for, the in my when I was growing up in the 60s and 70s, everybody communes, everybody wanted to live in the countryside. And I would suspect, once you get comfortable in that life, it's a life that you want to carry on. But if they were to come back into the city, like say tomorrow, just an off chance, just a scenario, right? That they move back into the city and they're on the internet and they have their phone, would they find this to be too overwhelming innovation? How far we've gone, how far we've come, with tiny Elon Musk, tiny houses, electric cars, going off to Mars and space stations, and all the different technologies when it comes to science and medicine, and my passion, archaeology. I was watching a documentary today on all those cities in South America that they're finding now through they call it larder. It's sonar, right? It's sonar, and they're bouncing the sonar off the ground and catching the height and the shapes of all the construction that is underneath those rainforests and jungles in South America. And they are finding huge, huge cities bigger than England, right? And taking up miles and miles of real estate. We'll call it real estate. Taking up miles and miles of real estate, and they can even see the roads coming in and out of these cities, yet they haven't even excavated, they haven't even gone into the forests, right, the jungles, to get a actual visual on these cities, right? They're just going over the mountains and these plains, and they're just bouncing the radars, and they can see it perfectly. This is all brand new technology. It can't be more than 50 years old for most part of this technology that's going on. Actually, I remember in this documentary they were saying that they've been doing this larder, this sonar um, uh, layout of the land. They've been doing this since the late 70s, right? This is how long this technology, but of course it advances, it gets better and better and better at it. But that's only 50 years ago, isn't it? And look how far we've come or how far we've come. And not just in that aspect, in so many aspects. Setting man on the moon, right? Penicillin, the atomic bomb, right? There's all kinds of things. And I like to delve into different discoveries, but lots of it we don't hear about until decades later, like I did today in this documentary. Now I knew about, them taking radar, doing radar mappings of South America and finding the cities, but I didn't actually see the maps, and I didn't actually see the cities. I just, right, got into something and took somebody's word for it. I like to experience it for myself. Now I'm not going to obviously go to the jungle and, right, experience myself that way, but a credible documentary from a credible source that we can trust, I can do that. Understanding that, if there is a discrepancy, it wouldn't have been with intent. Lots of times we say things are a certain way and they truly aren't that way at all. I'm actually just popped into my head as Neanderthals, when if you 20 30 years ago, if you saw a diagram of what a Neanderthal looked like, they would look like a gorilla. They would have fur and fangs and great big ears and knuckles dragging on the ground. And even the museums, when they did their uh, displays and presentations, they would present the Neanderthals like that. And that isn't the case at all. They might have been a little bit shorter, a little bit more stockier, probably not as well dressed and as well groomed, but they were just as human as me and you. But sometimes, in order to make something digestible, right? To make it so that we feel better about ourselves, so that we don't have to say, well, we evolved from monkeys, right? That we turn something that is perfectly human and turn it into a beast. We turn it into a monkey. We turn it into an animal, right? And it's totally misrepresented. But was it with intent to fool mankind? I don't think so. I think, because we have evolved so much that we just naturally think that if we're a little bit smarter this way, we must look a bit smarter this way. And it's not true, right? We are evolving. Definitely, characteristics would have been different, traditions and cultures, it would have been different. Even chemically, how we're put together, it would have been different because that was a different stage of evolution. Just like when we step into our next stage of evolution, which I truly believe that's what's going on right now, right? That possibly this stage of evolution that we're moving into, it is a process. It takes hundreds of thousands of years to evolve from one species to the next, from Homo sapiens or from Neanderthals to Homo sapiens, right? But where are we going from Homo sapiens to the next one? I think it could happen at any point because we are evolving so rapidly right now. And I think we're evolving so rapidly is because something beyond us understands it needs us to evolve. Now, in order for it to be successful, I don't think it could be really fast. I don't think that we could survive something that was totally um, different. It would be like seeing a Neanderthal and looking at it like a monster, a creature, or an animal. That we would look at human the way we are now and look at ourselves that same way too. And because we're all evolving, right? We're all evolving. Everybody's evolving. Even the plants are evolving, the animals are evolving. We're all evolving, but it's the stage of evolution that we are evolving. Obviously, in the different world, in the world that we live in different cultures and different countries and different parts of the world, that things move a little bit differently. Some places move faster, some places move slower, but we're going to feel comfortable or uncomfortable depending on where we sit in that placement of where our families have possibly been living for hundreds of thousands of years, possibly. So it makes sense that each one of us is going to evolve at different points in different ways. And, you know, a lot of the problems that we have right now is because we are looking at, right, others who haven't evolved as far as us, or we haven't evolved as far as them, and there is prejudice in that, right? There is. I'm assuming that Homo sapiens had a handle in what happened to the Neanderthals. Oh, most definitely, I feel that way. I feel differently as to why, because it's not just because somebody is different, it's because we are afraid of what's different. We have to make sure that whatever is different from us, make sure that they understand that they are lower than us, no matter what. And, because, it is a proven fact that Neanderthals had cannibalism in them, right? And I would suspect if I was another species of human being, I would not feel safe, right? My children, my husband, right? We're just analogy if we were cave people, right? But right, it would make sense that you would look at it as saving the world, saving your family, saving the future by eliminating something that is trying to eliminate you. How can you live peacefully in a world like that? And this is, I think about it, right? I'm not saying this is the way it is, but it's a possibility because I know if I was a Homo sapiens and Neanderthals were out there hunting humans, oh my goodness, right? I wouldn't have a lot of sympathy for that. I would understand that, right? That's not safe for anybody, right? They were even eating their own kind. And in the end, they didn't have much choice, I don't think, because there wasn't a lot of food to be had, right? And so we do look at others as if, right, they are below us. It makes us feel good about ourselves, right? But it's not necessarily, um, right? It's that strength. It's the alphas, right? It's the it girls and the in guys, the sports guys at school. It's that same kind of idea, right? That you keep everybody in their groups and then you just pick off the groups as you go, as you see fit until there's only one, right? And that's been going on for thousands and thousands of years, but we are moving, we are evolving, and it's just a matter of maneuvering around that in our own families where people are in the moment not evolving, in our communities, in our schools, and in our jobs and in our work life and in life in general. And we find ourselves in this situation that we are chasing our own tails by trying to outbeat the robots, trying to outbeat technology and the digital age by trying to be just as smart, right? And there are smart people out there. Otherwise, we wouldn't be creating these things and inventing these things that move us forward so rapidly. But at the same time, going fast in that and right, it can cause some issues. It can cause that hairy, scary, and that chaos to become oh, overbearing too much, and we might find that this is that bottleneck where we just really have a big crash in that. The idea is for people to be the example for others, to be the shoulder for others, to stand by others, to lift others, right? Until we're all at that stage that we're all ready, right? Maybe not everybody gets to make that leap, but some of us have to make that leap. Otherwise, right? That possibility of extinction is there. And this is the way that I feel. When I say I'm creating the best human being I possibly can, I truly believe that, right? And I don't know what kind of example I can be to others except to use my noodle and use my intuition to be able to feel my way along so that, maybe possibly, right? I could hit on something or somebody else might hit on something and I might happen onto that little bit of information and be able to show up here and share it, right? And that's what, right, community does for each other, right? It's not a matter of keeping anybody down. It's just a matter of keeping ourselves up, not being dragged down into that, right? To make sure that we're popping up out of the water and we're taking nice, big, deep breaths because we understand we're going back right under, right? Immediately, but it won't be like that forever. Eventually, right? We'll stumble into some semblance, is that the word? Resemblance of normalcy again. It will look different, but our systems will feel better. It'll feel calmer, feel like more in control. But sometimes, always, I think, you got to make a mess to clean a mess. And I think evolution is super messy. And in this process where we can slowly, at our own pace, be able to wake up to some of these ideas, that would be amazing. But that would entail that when we woke up to some of these ideas, that there are some people here already to help lead you in so that, right, it doesn't become a mess, that it doesn't become something hairy, scary that people are afraid to move into or, right, get lost in the moving, right? Because there is no follow me in that, right? Now, I'm not necessarily saying follow me in that because I'm in the mixed myself, right? I'm in the mixed myself and I'm bumbling along the best way that I can, but I'm making some good decisions for myself, I believe, in the moment, right? And hopefully that's enough, right? If I'm still smiling through it, right? Breaking my glasses, oh my goodness, like I've been throwing some doozies, but I'm not crying over it because those doozies could be even doozier, right? They could be bigger issues. And so I'm just going to be grateful for where I'm at in this moment. Okay, let's leave it at that for tonight, you guys. Let's grab a card. We're going to go into it for a couple of minutes and we're going to call it a night. And I'll be back tomorrow, you guys. All the schools were shut down today. They just played it safe and they just said no school for anybody today. It didn't affect my building. It's just a bunch of old people anyway. Okay, the word we got today, wonder. I love this card. Wonder is the majesty of what's being presented. In this conversation that I had with this lady, I was talking about my trip that I do every September. This year was the first year that I didn't go purposely for amethyst digging. I purposely went for my time with myself and just wanted to go camping and spend time with myself. And I enjoyed it immensely. But I was telling her all about me going digging for amethyst and crystals, and she was totally immersed in my adventures in that, right? And when I was talking to her about it, she really could tell by the look on her face that she was immersing herself in this description of my trips, especially when I went to Blue Diamond Amethyst Mine and I was digging for amethysts. And, you know, I had that vision, and telling her about the forest. She says, "Oh, I don't know if they'll like going digging." But I says, "Oh, you could go for a picnic. You get to walk in a beautiful forest. There, it's like Wizard of Oz, the Emerald City, but it's just amethyst all over the ground, you know." And it put me right back in that moment of when I was there, and I wanted to be there digging for amethyst, you know, because that's the wonder of those trips. And she says, "Oh my goodness, we're going," like she's adamant, she's going on this trip to Thunder Bay to go dig for amethyst at the amethyst mine because of this conversation and the way that I described my experiences when I go on these trips and stuff. And I could see the wonder, like she was just with everything that I was saying to her. And in the end, I could tell that she had made the decision. We're doing this, right? And you know, that's amazing. This is the thing about being human, that we can be so touched by our environment, or an environment that even if we see it online in YouTube or on a magazine or something, we go, "Oh my goodness, look at that sunrise, look at the wall of China, look," right? Anything that's majestic, and you go, "Oh, I wish I was there right now. That is so amazing." It's like me and my bothies. I just discovered what a bothy was, right? It's an old stone house that the Scots had as a homestead. But when they were chased out of the homesteads, when the clans were being dispersed, they had to give up their land and their homes. And a lot of these homes were made into little places where people, when they go on hikes, or right, they want to go out and experience beautiful landscapes or have an outdoor adventure. It's a place for you to stay now. It's like a hostel, right? It's like a hostel. And I went, like, that was so much wonder for me, that I have been watching bothy videos for a couple of weeks now. And in my imagination, I am planning this trip to Scotland. Who knows? I can afford a pair of glasses, but plan this trip for Scotland, right? And I want to hike to bothies. I want to do a set of bothies and just hike them, right? From one bothy to the next, all across Scotland. It would be absolutely amazing. But for me, I thought that was absolutely wondrous, right? That I thought, "Oh my goodness, look at the landscapes." Like some of these old stone houses in the middle of a valley, surrounded by mountains and creeks and rivers. And oh my goodness, right? Wonder, right? And this is how life is supposed to pick you up. But we're all standing in line at work, at the restaurant, at the grocery store, right? We are just in that anthill, right? And I want to be mesmerized by my life experience when I'm sitting in that rocking chair at 100 years old. I want to look back on my life and remember all the magnificent adventures that I had, all those dreams that I chased down, the ones that I achieved, and just as much the ones that I didn't achieve, because they would be equal in their storyline, in the telling of them, right? There are lots of miserable experiences that I wouldn't have wanted to have, right? But in telling those stories, you can sometimes make it so that somebody else doesn't have to go through that experience at the same time. You know what I mean? That they don't have to go through that experience themselves because you experienced, and they can put themselves in your shoes and see how it impacted your life, whether it impacted it amazingly or right, or it was that wrench, it was that heartbreak, it was that grief, right? That is just as worthy to look back on because there are good memories even in the grief, right? You don't want to forget your loved ones. I did that when my father passed away. I did that for quite a while because I couldn't deal with that pain. And I let that pain eventually come in, but just drip, 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 because that was all I was able to manage, right? The pain was too great. I wanted to go too. So we have to remember that, we have to do things slowly sometimes to come to terms with what's good or with what's bad in our life. And remembering that in those attachments that we have, that sometimes we don't want to look at that heartbreak. We don't want to look at that grief. But if you don't look at that heartbreak and you don't look at that grief, why are you looking at just the good times? Because that would be a lie, because life is a mix of all of it and it all matters. And, I think if I had it all over to do again, right, I would have truly, truly let myself grieve in the loss of my father. And that's the truth. We all miss the mark in following what the next person is doing, right? I don't want to fall in line. I don't want to do that. I want to be my own person. I can fall in line if it's called for, if it's necessary, in that holding up and in that supporting. But that's not my life. And as soon as that moment is over, that moment is over. And I'm just going to go back to creating the best human being I can be, right? And everybody has the right to be able to do that. Okay, I'm going a little bit cross eyed in my glasses here, right? I don't want to lose that lens. Step on it, break it, and end up having to figure out a way of coming up with well, I wouldn't go with the progressives anymore. They haven't, the past two pairs of glasses I've had, they haven't done a good job in the progressive aspect. So I think I'll just go regular bifocals next time. It's like half the price, and I can read and see much better than with the progressives because they just don't get the prescription right anyway. Wonder is the majesty of what's being presented, right? The magnificence of something that's just got our attention. But keep in mind, what's got our attention doesn't necessarily have to be a beautiful sunset. It could be a volcano going off, right? 4 blocks from your house. It could be, right? It could be your neighbor's house catching fire, and we're all standing out on the sidewalk and we're looking at it with our, right? Mouths down like this, because that wonder is something that is so big that we never thought that we could experience that, see it, right? And but for me, yeah, nothing gets me more than a sunset over a lake or a beautiful mountain, or going for a drive and looking at the lakes and the trees. And I could get lost in that. But to each one of us, our own. You won't catch me jumping out of an airplane, but I can tell you, people do find wonder in that. Wouldn't be me. I'll be the one on the ground looking up at you in wonder because, right? Oh my goodness, that's amazing. But you wouldn't catch me doing that. Okay, you guys, That's my good cheer. Have a great night, and we'll see you tomorrow.